a Learfield presentation of the Oregon Sports Network.
And Oregon is going to play in the national championship game.
Welcome to Duck Insider.
Man, it feels great to be a Duck.
Give it to me, baby. My house. I'm taking it there.
Their competitors, they'll want to put the O on.
Three. Got it.
We're going to compete to a standard every day.
The Oregon standard.
Rebound. Up and in. 1 point more to go.
The opportunity to play, put Oregon on your chest, should mean a great deal to you.
Unloads on one into left field, back toward the wall. Gone!
This program is staged to compete and to win championships.
Oregon wins!
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Better banking, local solutions. Live from the Country Financial Studio, let's talk Oregon athletics.
Busy day. It's an Athletic Director Tuesday, and Athletic Director Rob Mullens is our guest today. Rob, how are things?
Things are great.
Yeah.
Happy Tuesday.
Women's basketball season starts Friday.
I know.
We decked out Richard, thanks to the Duck Store, with the newest women's basketball gear.
I didn't know we had a name.
Yeah, this is Richard.
Okay, nice to meet you, Richard.
To be honest with you, I have no idea where that name came from. I don't remember the origin story. But it works.
Great.
It
Yeah,
works.
whatever.
So, good weekend, huh?
A spectacular weekend. I mean, you really, if you were going to script one, aside from the rain early in the morning over the game day crowd, I think that's exactly what you would script, right? I mean, you have to have a great matchup to get a game day, and we've been very fortunate. I think that was our 11th to have them, but I think that might have been the best of all time, the energy. And at least for me, that I started feeling that energy on Monday or Tuesday of last week. The game was sold out well in advance, and then the calls that just came pouring in on Monday with people looking for tickets was pretty cool. And then it built throughout the week, and then it over-delivered.
Yeah.
I think when you look at kind of the Friday hits that were over there on game day, and I was fortunate to be able to have dinner with some of the game day team, and then Saturday morning was just spectacular. Special thanks to everybody that showed up, the students, to all of our partners, that helped us hand out donuts and hot chocolate coupons and swag bags. And it was, I was there early, bumped into Kirk Herbstreit before the show, and he had been on stage, and he said, there's some of these that you go to where there's just this incredible energy. And as somebody who's getting ready to go on air, you can feel it. Yep. Today is one of those days, and it stayed that way.
Yeah, I felt it. I felt it the whole day. And I think it was nice to have the buildup of both teams on a bye, I feel like.
Yes.
Because it made the runway longer, and it was an enjoyable runway.
It was. It really was. It was a great bye week. It was awesome. The week ahead, I was being asked, as I'm sure you guys were regularly, do you think we'll get game day? Do you think we'll get game day? And we all were watching, knew we were on the short list, but there were a lot of other good games on the list. And then when it fell to us, it was game on.
Yeah.
And then it was just, making everybody aware of how important it is to have a great crowd. And I know James Crepia put out the numbers, and they were strong.
Yep.
It's essentially like a 3-hour. It's like a second game.
That's right.
You look at 1.9 million average. I think it peaked at 2.8. That's strong.
So we're spending some time looking back. We will look ahead with Oregon Athletic Director Rob Mullens. Also, weekly press conference with Dan Lanning on today's show, so it's a busy show. But I do think that it's worthy of looking back a little bit. So we're going to have to pat ourselves on the back that we scheduled you this week. This got scheduled in August. So, we must have known something. I don't know. It just
Sometimes
works
it
out.
falls your way.
Yeah. So can you encapsulate the numbers and the ratings are one thing. Peaking at 2.8 million viewers at the end of the show often does, right? That's a common thing. Game
sure.
day, everybody want to see the picks, but an average of nearly 2 million, over 1 million the entire show. Can you encapsulate beyond the numbers what that exposure means, not just for Oregon athletics, but for the entire University of Oregon community?
Well, you guys had Roger Thompson on last week, who's the absolute best in this business, in his role of student services and enrollment management. And, all these exposures add up. And when you can show a student experience that has a game day, the way our students were so energetic and having a great time, and game day is the best in the business at capturing that for the fans. Who wouldn't want to be involved in that? So, when and Roger's team does a great job of looking at the metrics when they send these emails and click through. And early on, when they were announcing the game day, they could see that people were clicking through to visitor tours and other things. So, and obviously for us in a recruiting standpoint, to have that O on the Lillis building in the background for 3 hours on Saturday, let alone all the live hits on Friday as well as the Sports Center on Saturday morning. And again, the energy was off the charts.
You mentioned the O on Lillis, and I think that it's now been long enough of the regular game day site being the Memorial Quad that maybe it gets forgotten that it used to happen on this side of the river, which was great, but having it on campus, there's just something special about that, and putting the O on Lillis, that was a big deal and has continued to be a big deal.
That was a big deal, and it is neat to have it right in the middle of campus, right? Because, the students bring the energy.
Right.
And if you were to walk around the game day, it's little young kids all the way to adults who love college football and want to be a part of it and just walk around and to see the signs and the togas and the energy it's just a ton of fun. I think it was Lou Holtz who said, getting game day is a huge impact on recruiting.
Yeah.
One, because they only go to the best game of the week, and they get to see the energy and excitement and connect to your campus, and then it leads to other stories, whether it's Bennett Williams doing a tour or it's a feature on Bo Nix. Obviously the head coach Dan Lanning gets a live spot on there.
Doug Koke and the motorcycle.
Doug Koke and the motorcycle, yeah. And obviously, and kudos to Doug. He's met so much of this program and was there when we were changing the brand, and it's neat that he did get that feature. But it just gives you a real flavor of the passion that our community has for student-athlete experience, for the Ducks, and, it has a big, big impact.
Did your toga fit?
You don't want to see this in a toga.
But that's part of what makes it fun, though, right? Is you can have those sorts of things that make it such an enjoyable and unique experience. That is what it's all about.
I suspect that at the end, all the students that were there and having so much fun, when you ask them to write down their top 10 moments of their time at the University of Oregon, some will list being a part of that.
Yeah.
Because it was fun. You're there in the middle of the night, super early in the morning, rain, you're cheering on a great team, and then, it was just a great day.
Well, look, I'm an example of that. I said to Roger last week when we were talking that I view myself as a prime example of athletics as the magnet to bring a student to the University of Oregon. I was that way. And one of my favorite memories from my freshman year, when I was living in the dorms, McLean Hall, in case anybody was curious. It was the tour hall, so if you ever got a tour in 2011, I'm sorry, because you had to walk through our dorm. But truthfully, going to game day with my college roommates, many of which now were in my wedding, for example. I have memories about that. It is one of the coolest things you get to do.
Yeah, and, when I was going to college, there wasn't game day, but or at least it wasn't making campus visits. But I do remember, sleeping out for tickets.
Yeah.
And the friendships and relationships and the memories that you have about that. And, and again, our students did a phenomenal job. Best show, again, ever here, and probably one of the best of all time. And then that energy carried over to Autzen. The students were in pink, in early. That student section was packed before kickoff on a 12:30 kick. They impacted the game.
No doubt.
And we'd love to see that for our final two games. They say home field's worth 3 points. When Autzen's like that, I think it's worth a little more than 3 points.
Yeah, I agree, and that's what makes it so special. And to go back to a similar example, so I'm fortunate now to be an instructor in the journalism school and
professor.
No, I'm not allowed to be that. Don't have a master's degree. Believe me. I still commonly refer to myself as broadcast schmuck, which is appropriate.
All right.
So. It's Sunday, though. We're doing a workshop class, and like clockwork, everybody was either on their laptop, all the students, on their laptop or on their phone. Well, you know what time it was? It was time to claim their student tickets.
Right.
This was the Sunday before the game. That sort of buzz, that's when right? That felt like when the sellout streak was going on. That's what it felt like to me.
No, I certainly felt like, we were asked often during the week, it did feel like 2012, 2013, and 2014. And like I said, the calls came in heavy on Monday about tickets, and we were sold out. And hopefully we can get to that place for UW and Utah, because we have 2 great home games left. If things continue to progress the way that we hope they do, those games are going to be critical to the Pac-12 race. And again, when Autzen is like that, we can impact the game when Autzen has that kind of energy.
Yeah, it's true. Oregon Athletic Director Rob Mullens with us. Spent some time looking back, but you brought up the opportunities ahead in the schedule. Certainly opportunities ahead. And, Rob, I'm glad that I get to ask you this question. You have unique insight into the way that the college football playoff gets picked.
Right.
You spent, what? How many total hours do you think you spent working?
I've never even done the hours. I mean, I served a 4-year term. 2 years as chair, I don't even know the number of hours. A lot.
A lot. So you have a unique insight that many of us, 99.999% of the population, don't have. So where things sit right now, polls are fun. Next week, CFP rankings start to come out. Gives somebody like me something to talk about on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, so thanks for that. What do you think? I mean, give us some insight into where the Ducks would be sitting if you were in the room right now.
Well, I wouldn't be sitting in the room when the Ducks were discussed because I'd be recused.
True.
But
so team A that has the resume of the Ducks, where would you?
Well, I think again, I mean, we've talked about this some, on here. The great thing about the CFP is the smart minds that went into creating the protocols. And again, at the end of the day, the charge of the committee is to rank the 4 best teams or to rank the best teams. And then, there's some criteria to evaluate. And a lot of that still has to play out, right? Because there'll be more head-to-heads. There'll be conference championships, like opponents. All that will play out. I'd tell you the thing for us right now is we have a very good strength of schedule. When you look at, we played the number 1 team in the country and defending national champions, really, in their backyard. Yeah. So it was a road game for us, traveled all the way across the country. And then also when we played, at the point we played BYU, they were a top, 12 team, top 10 team. So from a scheduling standpoint, we stepped up and played a real strong schedule. And then the Pac-12 has proven to be really good this year. And to win a top 10 matchup this past weekend, to go on a road in a place like Pullman, which is a difficult place to play. And one of the beauties of having coaches on that committee is they understand what it's like to go to Pullman and how difficult that is. So, I think, again, it's way early. There's a reason that the CFP rankings don't start until after week 9.
Right.
Preseason polls don't matter. Weekly polls don't matter. It's a clean sheet of paper every week. But I think when you look at what we have done, and if you were to when they do put our metrics up against the board, what we've been able to do offensively, and even defensively has been strong. I mean, we've given up some scores late in the game when the game is out of hand. I think we have a very strong resume.
There you go. So that's resume A that we're referring to, right? And then if I gave you resume B, C, D, E, we could go through the full exercise.
No, you can. And I mean, obviously they put all that up on the board, so you can do the comparison game. And I think when it comes out, again, with our strength of schedule, our offense is, putting up incredible numbers. And again, I think our defensive metrics are strong. And because everybody watches the games, they will know. I mean, we probably could have scored at the end of last week's game. There was another game that we've ended by taking a knee that we probably could have scored. So I think if you looked at the halftime scores, you can see the dominance that we've had in games. So again, but there's a lot of football left to be played. And, everybody, that first ranking show gets super high ratings because everybody's excited to see. And while the ratings go down, the games kind of take care of themselves. Yeah. Teams get eliminated in the head-to-head matchups. Yeah. So the number one thing you can do is keep winning.
Yeah, keep winning. You control your own destiny in a lot of ways, and the Ducks do in the Pac-12, and that's the first step, right?
Yeah, that's that. I mean, the first step is to prepare this week and go on a tough road trip. I mean, that's Cal is a difficult place to play against a really, really good defense. Take care of business, and then you really have to stay in the moment because, like we've said, I mean, if you go back to the history of the rankings, teams just knock themselves out.
Yeah, there's a reason that you and I are having this conversation on this program, and we will not be having this conversation on the Oregon Football Coaches Show on Wednesday night when Dan Lanning will be in the studio. right? We'll be talking about Cal.
Exactly right, and that's what you have to stay focused on. And rankings get a ton of attention, but there's one ranking that matters, and that's the one at the end.
One at the end. You want to be in the conversation at the end, but nice to be in the conversation now. All right, I want to get a timeout. We're going to come back. Have yet to talk about all the other sports that are going on and a few other topics around Oregon athletics with Athletic Director Rob Mullens. We're coming back after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Hey Duck fans, we're all about protecting our home turf here in Eugene. You should do the same for your home with Country Financial Insurance. Most home insurance doesn't account for inflation, but with Country Financial, yours can. If something happens to your home, make sure you can rebuild the same house in the same place. Call a local representative or 866-COUNTRY and get a solid defense for your home. Home insurance policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Casualty Insurance Company, or Country Preferred Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois. Property must meet age and condition requirements, which vary by state.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union, onpointcu.com. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Opportunity.
Don't go anywhere. Duck Insider continues after these messages on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Guys, it's me, Isabella Gomez, filling in for Smokey Bear because he's got more to say than just...
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Like, if you're outside enjoying a barbecue, don't let a hamburger distract you from fire safety. Make sure you aren't dumping your hot coals or ashes onto the ground because that could start a wildfire. So take wildfire prevention seriously and let's save the world one day at a time. Juntos con Smokey Bear, podemos hacerlo. Go to smokeybear.com to learn more about wildfire prevention.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
GOAT, G-O-A-T, acronym, stands for Greatest of All Time. As in, spaghetti sandwiches for dinner? They're my fave. Dad, you're the GOAT.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care would love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Oh, it's good to be in the conversation. Back on Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Joey Mack, Oregon Athletic Director Rob Mullens here. We have talked a lot about football. We'll continue to talk a lot about football because, like I said, nice to be in the conversation. You know what else is nice to be in the conversation is volleyball. Oregon volleyball in the rankings in the hunt for a Pac-12 championship. And it's always cool when you have a coach hit the century mark. Matt Ulmer, he'll be on the show tomorrow. We're going to have to get a new ball. This is the first career win.
Come a long way since then.
Yeah, 100 more of these. Yeah, he's at the century mark. That was cool to see.
Yeah, very cool. Obviously, he's done an amazing job in building a great culture and achieving high level of success. And this team is fun to watch.
Yeah.
And again, I think we talked about it last time, is if you haven't been out to volleyball, one, great team, but two, Brooke Nunaviller is a very special talent. All-American, national team caliber player, can play all over the court. She's an exceptional athlete, probably one of the best all-time at the University of Oregon in any sport. I would encourage anybody who just loves seeing high-level performance to go enjoy that while you can.
Yeah. She's special.
She is. She's phenomenal.
I always come back to the thought that the position that she plays on the national team is not the position that she's playing for the Ducks.
That is fascinating. I have the same thing. And I think with Brooke's competitiveness, her work ethic, and her athleticism, she could probably play any sport and be high level.
Yeah.
She's just exceptional.
That's amazing when you think about like multi-sport athletes growing up, and sometimes it's just the one that they either A, love the most, or B, it's the first one they get the scholarship offer, and then it takes off.
Right, or where you live, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, no, I would encourage people. It's a special talent. It is worth the price of admission to come see her perform.
So the volleyball team's going to be out in Tucson and playing in the desert. So is the Oregon soccer team. The Oregon soccer team's going to go and support the volleyball team on Friday night. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm excited to be watching on the stream and see, a lot of Ducks taking over the desert. That's a cool Pac-12 scheduling mix-up there. But it's fun having volleyball in the mix and in the hunt.
No, always. And, volleyball postseason is so intense, as we've proven with our Elite Eight run. Get in, and be playing your best volleyball, and you can find your way to the end.
Talking about soccer, too, it's down the stretch they come. So this weekend, the task is to go at least 1-0-1, because you got to be at 500 in order to be eligible for the NCAA tournament. Oregon Soccer's RPI has been strong all season long. So for Graham Abel's team heading to the desert, they're in the hunt. That's where you want to be.
They are absolutely in the hunt, and as you said, they've challenged themselves with a strong schedule, and hopefully the experience of we've been here before,
right?
And hopefully the experience of last year can be put to good use here this weekend and come out of there with what we need and then finish strong.
And then finishing strong, it would be a rivalry matchup with Oregon State, maybe for a chance for a postseason berth, which, that gives you some goosebumps.
It absolutely gives you some goosebumps. And this team, they've battled a lot of injuries. They deserve a postseason berth. It would be fun for them to gain that experience. And, again, if you get the right draw and you're playing well at the right time, anything can happen in that tournament.
Pac-12 championship season is already here, if you can believe it. Friday, cross-country Pac-12 championships. Coach Schumacher, Coach Flanagan, things trending in the right direction so
Very
far.
much so. You get a short sample size in cross-country. I don't think people realize how difficult it is. So think about what's going to happen over the next few weeks. If you're an elite-level distance runner in cross-country, you're going to try to compete for a Pac-12 championship. Then I think turn around in 2 weeks and try to run a regional because of the way you have to perform in the regional to advance to the championships. And then 9 days after the regional, you're going to go run in a championship. As a distance, it goes quick. And obviously, if you've followed it, they went to the Nutty Coleman Madison, Wisconsin, which is essentially a national championship preview. And would we finish 10th and 11th? So incredible performance there, trending the right way off of the Dellinger. I think Coach Schumacher, Coach Flanagan are doing a phenomenal job. And, there's some art to this, trying to be at peak performance 3 times in a very short period of time. That's not easy.
Yeah. And so they're going to be on the show later this week. We actually sat down with them last week, and we're going to air it on the show this week. They've been really busy.
Very busy.
So I say that because I was talking to them about this off the air. Like, normally when a coach gets hired, we do like the introductory, interview, right, on the show. Like, that's the purpose of the show. Well, their schedule was so all over the place, just trying to hire a staff, get the season off and running, forgive the pun, and now getting ready for a championship. We finally got the chance to talk. I got to tell you, Rob, they are so much fun to talk to, Coach Flanagan and Coach Schumacher. It was awesome for me just to get to know them for 10 minutes.
No, I agree. The same thing. I mean, the amount of experience and professionalism and expertise that they bring in their sport, yet to add that to our coaches group, they've just been fantastic. And I had the good fortune of sitting at their table at the Hall of Fame banquet.
Oh, nice.
And I think both of them said they've never worked harder in their careers, but have never had as much fun.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot to do in a very short period of time, and they're providing outstanding leadership.
You got to embrace the lifestyle aspect of the job, right?
Yeah.
That's what it is. We know that. We work in athletics.
That's right.
Yeah.
It really is a lifestyle, and I mean, the future of Oregon track is bright in with their leadership, no doubt about it.
Championships, though, for Pac-12 coming up on Friday. More on that later on this week on the show. Basketball season's right around the corner. That also starts Friday, women's basketball.
It's here. Here we go. This is that crazy time of year, right, where we have the overlap of football and volleyball, women's soccer, and the basketballs. And so, it's a fun time. Excited to see, I think we've got 2 really good basketball teams. A lot of new players. Would encourage you to get out Friday and see women's basketball and get introduced to that squad. And we're off and running.
Yeah, we are off and running. I got to tell you, it's been fun for me going over to Matthew Knight Arena the last couple weeks and seeing the teams in action. You start to have that build-up, and it's fun. This is what it's all about.
It is fun, and we've got 2 great coaches who are masterminds at putting together the rotations and the combinations to ensure success.
Since we last spoke with you, Rob Mullens joining us, Oregon Athletic Director, Damone Merkerson has begun his role as part of your senior staff. Update fans again on what he's doing and what he's done so far.
Yeah, so we were able to recruit Damone and convince him to come from UMass to the University of Oregon to serve as our senior associate AD for diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. Damone is a former Syracuse football player with a lot of experiences in and around student-athlete development and DEIB work. He's brought an incredible energy to our team, his engagement with student-athletes, engagement with staff, and we're just getting started, obviously. His experience at Syracuse, at Boston College, at UMass fits nicely here at the University of Oregon, and he settled in. He even biked to work today. You talk about embracing the Pacific Northwest. But great to have him on board. In fact, he's working along with Eric and Lauren and some others on the search committee as we look for our new deputy athletic director. So, again, great to have him on board. Brings a wealth of experience and a ton of energy.
Yeah, it was really fun having him on the show and talking about topics that could be uncomfortable. There's no doubt about it. And what I loved about it is he and I even talked, as you can imagine, we talked after we did the interview, and just talking to him about having the conversation, I loved it. Like, as someone like me who is, a conversationalist, it was awesome, Rob. It was great.
No, and it's great to have him as an incredible resource with his set of experiences. He's already been able to plug in to some locker rooms to do some educational things, like you said. One of the great things that happens with teams is you form this connection. And the stronger the connection, the stronger the bond through the communication, through the difficult conversations. One, great life lesson, but two, it does show up in performance when you're able to build that kind of culture.
Yeah, it's awesome. So if you want to read more about it, you can read the release on GoDucks.com about Damone and what he's doing. Damone Merkerson joining the senior staff, and he's going to be part of the regular rotation whether he likes it or not.
Oh, no, I think he liked it. He had a little bounce in his step when he came back down the hall after being on.
I like that.
So it was good.
I'm glad to hear that. I'm really glad to hear that. One thing that I pointed out, Rob, when the University of Oregon now going through a search for a new president, I had noted that you were on the search committee, and I actually had a few fans reach out and say, "Hey, so what's that entail? What's that entail?"
Yeah, I mean, I'm one member of, I think it's a 22-person search committee. Obviously we just kind of had our initial meeting, so when you're doing that, we're all trying to make sure that the word is out. That it's open, transparent, and we get as much input as we can as we launch on it. I mean, obviously, it's a critical hire. Yeah. And there's a great search committee. The chair and the co-chair are highly organized. And these things take a little time. It's a little bit of a lengthier process. But it's a great committee makeup. Honored to serve and excited. This is a wonderful place. Great community, outstanding institution. Phenomenal leadership from the board, great staff. So I'm anxious. I think we will attract a deep and talented pool.
Just another thing to add to your list.
Yeah, sure. Why not? Here we go.
Oregon Athletic Director Rob Mullens. Anything we missed? Anything else fans should know?
No. Again, giant thank you to the students and the fans that showed up at game day. That when you have that kind of performance with energy and crowd. It's noted by the producers, the staff, the talent, that when you come to the University of Oregon, we're going to deliver for you. And to have all that carry over into Autzen and create that incredible home field advantage. And, yes, we have sold out some games since 13 and 14, but I'm with you. It felt like the Autzen that led us to an incredible run. And we've got 2 more chances this year for Autzen to be that alive, and I'd like to see us take full advantage of it.
GoDucks.com/FBTix. There's not very many left.
There's not. Let's fill it up.
Thanks, Rob.
Thank you.
Appreciate
you
having
me.
Oregon Athletic Director Rob Mullens. When we come back, men's tennis. An update on a great start to their season. Also, Dan Lanning's weekly press conference coming up on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Dear gas prices, Toyota is the #1 retail brand for electrified vehicles for 22 years. That says it all. Toyota hybrids. Find yours at Toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
Based on manufacturer estimates, CY 2000 through 2021 sales. At Shadow Hills Country Club, our all-inclusive event pricing allows us to take care of all of the details while you enjoy your event. Our wedding garden, expansive grounds, ballroom, and meeting rooms can accommodate any size event and come complete with full catering and service staff. From weddings to business and social events, Shadow Hills offers the benefits of a resort atmosphere and the peace of a country setting just minutes from downtown Eugene. For more details, call us today or go to shadowhillsevents.com.
Dear gas prices, Toyota is the #1 retail brand for electrified vehicles for 22 years. That says it all. Toyota hybrids. Find yours at toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
Based on manufacturer estimates, CY 2000 through 2021 sales.
Duck Insider continues after this timeout on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Ready for our little forest adventure?
Yes! So much waiting for me. Yeah, I wanna go outside. I wanna be.
We're here.
Whoa, that was fast.
There's a forest closer than you think. Find a park or forest near you and music inspired by nature at discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by USDA Forest Service and the Ad Council.
You're not too cool for me. And in return, I reciprocate that sentiment. I'll never be too cool for you. I was a man with a plan, but now I'm a dad with a decree, and you can't take that from me. Please let it be noted that I told my job they can dock my pay. Right now, it's just too important to take you to school every day. I want to be legendary for you. I want you to puff out your chest when you go to school, the same way I do. I walk taller because of you, because I found everything to live for.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Joey Mack with you in the Country Financial Studio. Oregon Football Coaches Show coming your way Wednesday evening. Brandon Dorless will be our player guest, and Oregon head coach Dan Lanning will be with us right here in the Country Financial Studio. Just after 7 o'clock, join us on the Oregon Football social media channels for the live stream and, of course, across the Oregon Sports Network. Every week, we're talking with Dan Lanning. And every week, Dan Lanning also meets with the media upstairs in the Hatfield-Dowland complex, the Oregon football head coach with his weekly press conference. But first, men's tennis. Awesome news yesterday. Oregon men's tennis doubles team of Joshua Charlton and Quinn Vanica-Steele won the doubles title at the ITA Northwest Super Regionals. That's a really big deal. That's one of the biggest tournaments that they do during this portion of their season and really bodes well moving forward for this men's tennis doubles pairing of Charlton and Vanica-Steele. We had them on the show in the spring before they went to the national championships where they performed really well. And I got to tell you, they are such great guys to root for. A lot of Ducks are that way. All Ducks are that way. This is if you haven't already noticed them, this is a little bit of a wake-up call for you fans. I'm telling you, pay attention to what Nils Schielander has going with this doubles pairing and this entire Oregon men's tennis team. Congratulations to Josh Charlton and Quinn Vanica-Steele. Now let's hear from Dan Lanning, Oregon football head coach, previewing Saturday's 12:30 kickoff on Fox Sports 1. The Ducks traveling to Berkeley, taking on Cal. Weekly press conference, part 1, with Oregon football head coach Dan Lanning.
Doing great. Obviously a phenomenal weekend, really exciting. I don't know how you can be a fan or a prospect or anyone right now and not want to be a part and around what's going on in Oregon football. Our fans made such an impact on Saturday, starting with game day, being there early, being able to carry that over to a primetime game, and obviously an elite experience there in that stadium. I have not been a part. I've been in some great stadium environments, and that's one of the best stadium environments I've ever been in my career. So a lot of fun for our players, fun to see our players have that success, but we enjoyed it on Saturday, and we're ready to move on now and attack our weaknesses and try to make them strengths as we move forward to play Cal this week.
To that point, one of the spoils of victory is a lot of kudos, a lot of compliments. Just how have your guys done processing all that and moving on from it in the last 48 hours?
Yeah, we don't concern our opinion, with the opinions of others, right? Our focus has always been within, and today we went to the doctor, and we saw a lot of things we can get better at, right? Some people texted me the morning after the game and said, how do you feel after that win? And I said, well, I just watched the film, so I've got some concerns, right? There's a lot of stuff that we got to fix, a lot of stuff that we can get better. The piece that I'm excited about is I think consistently every single week we've improved, right? Really across the board, and we got to continue to improve as we move forward.
Ryan Addison is someone who's really kind of coming into his own on the defense and really finding his spot there. After watching the film, what do you think he's doing now that's really allowed him to establish himself there?
He's got range. We talked about this morning as we went back and evaluated some of those things. This guy can cover sideline to sideline. Obviously having that receiving background allowed him to come down with the ball there at the end of the game. But he's getting his hands on a lot of balls, and he gets guys down when it comes to tackling, and that's showing up.
We didn't get a chance to ask you about the end of game offensive sequence of taking the knee and then throwing it through the back of the end zone. What went into those decisions?
Yeah, we work situations like that every single Friday, right? For us, it wasn't about trying to go get another score. It's just making sure the ball doesn't go back to our opponent. You talk about things that I can do better. It should have been more of a slow knee, right? You take a slow knee, you can run a little bit more time off. We've worked the air ball situation we did the very last play with as much as 10 seconds in practice. It was 13. It's a little longer than you really want to work. But that's the kind of situation where hey, I don't want to punt. I don't want to give the ball back to the opponent. We want to use all the time on the clock. But that was a really cool, for us at least, situational, play where you see so often, even in the NFL, where backs break out in the open and they try to go score a touchdown, right? And then what do? They create an opportunity for another team to go back, score, onside kick, right? All those things, you open up Pandora's box. So we knew it was a drop alert situation. If we got a first down, we wanted to go down. We could have done a better job operating with a slow knee rather than a victory as fast as we did, but then have the air ball to finish is a good sequence of play for us.
In an area to improve, where does the onus for linebacker pass coverage, where does correcting the onus for that kind of fall? And particularly this week against a player like Jaden Ott, who they turn to a lot in the passing game, just how do you look to correct that when you know you're going to face another challenge in that area?
Yeah, recreating that in practice as much as possible, right? Making sure that we recreate those situations for our guys, consistently through the week, and then do a good job of, really making those tackles. I think we talked about even going back all the way to week 1. What do you see? You see a lot of individual one-on-one tackles. When we can eliminate those opportunities and make more of those buddy tackles, right? That's what we're trying to do. We got to do a better job of that. And then when we do, in football, you got to make one-on-one tackles, right? And when that happens, you got to do a great job of it and have eye discipline. Teams will create confusion. We have to do a good job of evaluating that and assessing it.
The most points anyone's this year scored on Cal is 31. Washington's explosive plays were way down. Just what do they do so well that limits points, limits explosion plays?
They don't give up explosives, right? They play with great layering in their defense. They're not a team that's sitting here taking a million risks, right? They play really sound. You're probably one of the most, the well-coached and sound defenses in our conference that we're going to see. I think they do a really good job, from that standpoint. And because of that, they don't give a lot of big plays.
How would you describe the personality of your offensive line?
There's so many different character traits that really fit that group. Intelligence, toughness, right? Brotherhood, right? They're a close-knit group. There's a high belief. They're very coachable, right? You talk about wanting to be the best version of yourself. Coach Clem does a great job with those guys every single week, week in and week out. But those guys are willing to be coached, right? So many people shell up when they get coached, right? These guys, they accept coaching and look for opportunities to get better and embrace adversity. So it's exciting to see in a group.
I know you're more than just a defensive coach, but you obviously know that side of the ball well. When you have an offense that's this prolific, how much does that kind of make life easier on the defense, and how much does that open up the freedom on that side of the ball?
A bunch. I mean, it's nice. The name of the game is score more points than the other team, and the fact that we're able to do that right now at a high level is definitely a benefit. And like I said, this past weekend, we knew we were playing a good offense in UCLA. Like they score points, right? But the fact that we're scoring touchdowns and they're scoring field goals, it's gonna equate to a win at the end of the day. And at some point, it might not always go like that. But right now, our offense is clicking on all cylinders, and I think that'll continue.
You opened by talking about how the program's got great momentum and who wouldn't want to play here. How much can a single weekend maybe play in a recruitment, and how kind of valuable is one unofficial or unofficial visit for a recruit sometimes?
When you get an opportunity to be on a stage, similar to what we were on this Saturday, you talk about the stars really aligning from the minute people woke up that morning, they knew and were evaluating Oregon football until that game was over with. And it became, really something that was in every living room across the United States. That's an opportunity to make an impact. And I think our fans lived up to a moment right there, right? They created an opportunity to make sure everybody knows. Because if you haven't been a part of this, if you haven't experienced it firsthand, you might not realize what Oregon football is all about and what this fan experience is all about. And what that does really for us from a recruiting standpoint is invaluable.
Can you speak to, on third and 12 and 4th and 4, the 2 passes to Bucky, that you guys go without a running back and pass pro there because he breaks out. And the willingness to do that is, and how much of that is Kenny's aggression, how much of that is a tribute to the offensive line that you're that confident to do that in those passing situations, to leave Bo back there unprotected, and the confidence in them and him to execute, and then to see those results obviously were both huge plays.
Yeah, I think all those things play a factor. I mean, ultimately, I think any defensive coach would tell you it's harder to cover 5 than it is to cover 4. So when you get the back out and a pass route, it takes another person to be able to cover that. It also eliminates one more person they can bring, right? But Bo's smart enough and understands protections well enough to know, do we have enough hats up front to block them? He trusts the guys that are in front of him. When we can get 5 guys out in routes, we want to be able to do that. And in both those situations, those are situations, again, we knew before we got to that situation, we were already going to be going for it, and we have a play dialed up for it. So it's good to see our guys go out there and execute.
Duck football head coach Dan Lanning meeting with the media. When we come back, continuing his conversation, previewing this 12:30 kickoff against the Golden Bears of Cal. Back after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union, onpointcu.com. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Opportunity.
Hey Duck fans, we're all about protecting our home turf here in Eugene. You should do the same for your home with Country Financial Insurance. Most home insurance doesn't account for inflation, but with Country Financial, yours can. If something happens to your home, make sure you can rebuild the same house in the same place. Call a local representative or 866-COUNTRY and get a solid defense for your home. Home insurance policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Casualty Insurance Company, or Country Preferred Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois. Property must meet age and condition requirements, which vary by state.
Duck Insider, your home for the latest news on Oregon athletics on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Hi, I'm Smokey Bear, and I made an assistant to help you out, because only you can prevent wildfires.
Hey, Assistant Smokey Bear, call me Papa Bear, because I'm grilling up dinner. Do you get it?
Yes, good job.
So, what should I do with all these coals?
Don't just toss them out. Put them in a metal container because those embers can start a wildfire.
I understand. The stakes are high.
Ha, 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 ha.
Learn more at smokeybear.com.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. And now a speech.
I just want to say that friendship is about heart and brain. Who's with me?
Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
And my brain is saying, when it's time to go home, somebody call me a ride.
Love that guy.
Me too.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Back inside the Country Financial Studio, Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. I'm Joey Mack. Continuing with the weekly press conference, Oregon football head coach Dan Lanning. It's a 12:30 kickoff for the Ducks against the Golden Bears. Kind of a cool connection. Last week we talked about this. Steve Greatwood, former Oregon offensive line coach, he came out of retirement. He's joined the Justin Wilcox staff as an analyst to try to help out on their offensive side. Thought that was kind of cool. Might be nice to see Coach Greatwood on the sidelines again. And maybe I'll give him a fist bump and then say, go Ducks. Part 2 of the press conference with Dan Lanning.
Stever and Hunter, just your thoughts on him and just your scouting of this offense. What are you going to face this week?
Yeah, they pass the ball a good amount, and I think they do a good job of getting the ball down the field, right? Their quarterback probably doesn't get enough credit. He's had one takeaway, I think, in the last 5 games. He's done a really good – they're doing a really good job of taking care of the ball. And he throws the ball really well. He's a talented thrower. So you got to cover him, got to handle him well in the back end. And I think they do a good job of pushing the ball down the field. They haven't hit a rhythm consistently this season, but when they do, they can be dangerous.
You touched on this a little bit, but what do you like about working with Coach Clem?
Yeah, our entire offensive staff. I mean, you love a guy that has experience, right? You talk about Coach Klim. He's a guy that's played in the NFL, right? He played at a high level college football. He's been a college coach. He's been an NFL coach. He has an experience. So I think for our players, it's really nice to know that this isn't a guy that just says it, right? But it's also a guy that's done it, right? I think you see a big guy, right? But sometimes when you hear him talk, you're like, oh, it doesn't sound like he doesn't have to go out there and be a yeller and a screamer, right, to get the results that are necessary for his group, right? And that's appealing. I think he can be really straightforward with his guys, honest answers and clear, and I think that comes out in the way that they play. So having the offensive staff, the defensive staff, I can't give enough credit to our coaching staff that we have here and the job that they've done and our players buying into that coaching staff for us to have success.
You talked about veteran quarterbacks, some young guys downfield, but then also the running back, Ott, who I think has the highest single game rushing in the conference this year, like 278 yards or whatever that was a while ago. How difficult is it to prepare for when they have kind of both of those, I guess, assets that can go off in any single game like that?
Yeah, I like how you stole the mic there. That was smooth. Turnover one. No, yeah, when you're playing a team that can do both, right, it really challenges you defensively. That being said, we have to be able to take away what they do best. So we're going to have to play to some of the tendencies, try to evaluate that as we go through the game. But they certainly have proven that they can, right? So that's something we're going to have to prepare for.
I feel like a big theme in all sports is not playing down to your competition and coming off of game against UCLA team that was highly ranked, big game, coming in Autzen Stadium, now going on the road the next 2 games, playing some teams that are lower in the conference. I know your team has improved every single week, but what are you looking for, especially after this next game, that's going to prove to you that your team is continuing to improve and not playing down to their competition?
I think anybody that turns on a TV on any Saturday night is going to realize that every week you can't predict college football, right? I'm watching film earlier today, and this game last year came down to the last 2 seconds on a 4th and 2 at the goal line, right? So we have to bring our best every single week to be able to perform to the level we think necessary and capable. Again, I've got a lot of respect for Cal. We're playing Oregon this week, right? We got to go get our best version of us. And be able to play really well. And we want to be playing better ball at the end than we are right now. So that's what we're looking for is growth, right? But this team is very capable.
When you speak of Bo being elite, recognizing number counts and box counts and those things and making run checks and those things, exactly how much autonomy does he have on a play pre-snap basis, Dan? I mean, there's guys where it's one check or maybe there's a couple options, but how vast and how wide open is it for him given that he's more experience and been in a version of this offense before and has, a veteran offensive line, et cetera?
Yeah, we trust Bo, right? There was maybe one time I think we all gave him a hard time today about one of the checks he made, right? But we trust Bo, right? He's got great confidence in the system and he understands what we're trying to get accomplished. I think that's credit again to the coaching staff and the job that they're doing for preparing him. But he knows what looks we're looking for, and there's times where there's something we haven't really prepared for. But maybe 4 weeks before, but he remembers the check and why we had it, and he's able to utilize it within a game. So that's when you really are clicking on all cylinders, when you have somebody that can do that.
Remember when you showed up as the head coach, you talked about recruiting and just you're a little bit behind the 2023 class because of the time you arrived. Fast forward now, you've had some opportunities to recruit underclassmen. Just how do you balance that of focusing on the 2023 class, but also giving ample time ahead to build those relationships for next year's signing day as well?
It's just got to be part of your everyday process, right? And again, there's recruiting and then there's relationships, and that's kind of the key. And I think our staff does a great job of building relationships, does a good job of evaluating talent, because I think that's the part that gets missed sometimes, right? You got to make sure you evaluate the right guys. I know there's a lot of guys that we were able to bring into our team when we got here that weren't here. And I don't know how many of them were really highly rated or touted or what that looks like, but I'll say this, every single guy that we brought in here, I'd take again, right? I'm really excited about the guys that we're able to bring into our program. I think every one of us can recognize the value that those guys that we brought in, whether it be portal guys or freshmen, the value that they've added. So you want to be able to do a good job of that, and you have to do it every week to do that.
I think Taki came off at one point in the second half. What's his status and availability going forward?
Yeah, still he got a little dinged up in his ankle. I think he's going to be able to go Saturday. We'll see.
What exactly is the challenge from when Kenny employs the 12 unbalanced and it's the 5 to the one side, just what that does, particularly to the boundary, how much that messes with keys, and when you have that in there, and you guys really leaned on that, I think, more than before this past week, and to then also have a 21 personnel package and to alternate between kind of different extremes and that versatility of the offensive playbook?
Yeah, ultimately we try to keep the game really simple, and I think you go back to the BYU game. If we find something in a game that we have a rhythm and we think our numbers are right or maybe better, we're going to stay in that rhythm and continue to do it and lean on the strength of our offensive line and let our backs run. And that's really, I think, what you saw Saturday. We had a good numbers count out of a couple different sets. We're able to present it out of different personnel groups, and we're going to keep going back to it until the other team gets their numbers right.
When third down defense was an area you guys were looking to address, how do you evaluate the result? Where do you look at more of the 4 for 4 on short or the 2 for 8 on 3rd and 5+, and how you go about adjusting, correcting, improving, et cetera?
Yeah, both. You got to take the whole sample size. And then there's some third downs where we got a third down stop, but then they convert on 4th, right? So what's that equate to? Still a loss, right? So I think there were some much improved situations, and then some situations get better. I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to figure out if you're in 3rd and 1, your chances of stopping them are a lot shorter than if they're in 3rd and long. So it goes back to still creating more of those moments. I thought we did some things better than we have done during the season so far up to this point, but still looking for improvement moving forward.
Oregon football head coach Dan Lanning, weekly press conference upstairs in Hatfield Dowling Complex every Monday evening. You can watch it live on the Go Ducks YouTube page, and of course we always have it for you here on Duck Insider on a Tuesday, in addition to our athletic director segment. When we come back and hear from Malasala Amuve-Laulu, let's talk a little offensive line. Also, congratulations are in order, a contract extension for an Oregon head coach when we come back on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
At Shadow Hills Country Club, our all-inclusive event pricing allows us to take care of all of the details while you enjoy your event. Our wedding garden, expansive grounds, ballroom, and meeting rooms can accommodate any size event and come complete with full catering and service staff. From weddings to business and social events, Shadow Hills offers the benefits of a resort atmosphere and the peace of a country setting just minutes from downtown Eugene. For more details, call us today or go to shadowhillsevents.com.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union, onpointcu.com. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Opportunity.
This is Duck Insider. Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
To your children's eyes to see the true magic of a forest. It's a storybook world for them. You look and see a tree. They see the wrinkled face of a wizard with arms outstretched to the sky. They see treasure in pebbles. They see a windy path that could lead to adventure. And they see you, their fearless guide to this fascinating world.
Find a forest near you and start exploring at discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
Jelly. Jelly adjective. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt US Kids, and the Ad Council.
Back on Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. You know, I was thinking about this as we came back in the Country Financial studio. The longest tenured coach at Oregon Athletics, in the University of Oregon Athletic Department, well, he's still going to be here a little bit longer. Nils Schelander, Oregon men's tennis coach, contract extension for 4 years, signed until 2027, so still going to be the longest tenure. Congratulations to Coach Schelander. Famously gave us probably the most valuable thing that's in the Country Financial studio. Rafael Nadal, Roger Federer, and John McEnroe signed this tennis ball. I think it's probably the most valuable thing that's in the studio. So, thanks, Coach. And congratulations. That's awesome. Glad Coach Schelander sticking around. Women's golf in action today. Number 6 Oregon women's golf team faces off with number 24 Auburn in the semifinals of the East Lake Cup today after finishing second in stroke play at the East Lake Golf Club. So Golf Channel, if you're live with us, actually has live coverage of that tournament going on right now until about 3 o'clock Pacific time. But the Ducks in pretty good spot as the fall season continues for Oregon women's golf. Finishing today's show, talking offensive line. Big Sala on the offensive line. Malasala Amuve-Laulu met with the media after practice today.
Like what I said before, practice season's perfect and stuff. So I feel like the OC and our other offensive coaches is doing a really good job this year. So that's what I think.
How different is it for you, Salah? I mean, I realize now your career is several years here, but you came in 400 pounds, you were a guard, you were a big man. I mean, you're still a huge guy, but you were even bigger then. And now you're primarily at right tackle and pulling around and hitting third-level safeties on run plays. It's a pretty far cry from a 400-pound guard.
Yep. I feel like our coaches are doing a wonderful job. And also, like our strength coaches, they're doing a phenomenal job as well. So I feel like those two combination is pretty good for what we're doing right now. So that's what I think.
How much do you like getting to play guard again a little bit on that 14J package and get in there a little bit on the interior?
So it's pretty fun. Yeah. We rotate like other positions and stuff, which is a good thing. So he likes the one where we. Man, this guy's. He wants us to be versatile, so that's how it is. So, yep.
Do you feel like last week was your best game?
My mindset right now, on to the next week. So I just let the past go and just keep grinding with our team.
And so much of what you do is unglorious, though. How much do you either just hear from family who's watching on TV, or when you watch back on the TV? I mean, you're getting a lot of national love during that game. I mean, it's got to feel pretty good, because ordinarily there's not, offensive line's kind of that taken for granted. Nobody necessarily looks at you that much unless you guys are messing up, kind of thing.
Yeah, but like what I said, just put the pride on the side and just keep working, grinding with our team, and that's how it is. On to the next opponent.
Dan described you're the offensive line as like a brotherhood and a whole bunch of different things. Just what has that relationship been this year?
Our relationship is pretty strong. We take everything to the heart. We make sure our quarterback and our running backs and whoever is protected as well. So, yep.
You've seen from Cal's defense in terms of their edge guys, one of their outside backers is pretty high up there in terms of sacks for them. I want to say Xavier, I want to say it's Coleman. Just what have you seen from 33, I want to say, number-wise, what have you seen from him?
They're pretty good. Like what I said, we're just going to keep practicing. So just keep grinding every day and see how it goes on Saturday.
He's a team guy, isn't he? That's Malasala Amuve-Laulu. Team guy on the offensive line. Put the pride aside. That's what offensive linemen do. It's just the way that it works. Pretty amazing, though, what this team has been able to do on the offensive line, particularly. Did you hear the fight song? It's got some good feeling in the fight song during the week. Particularly what the offensive line has done. Only one sack. Only one. That's what you love to hear. And it's not just the O-line. I want to say that too. And that's something I want to talk about later on this week. Pass protection isn't just the O-line. But man, they make a big difference, don't they? Good show today, everybody. Thanks to Rob Mullens. Thanks to Dan Lanning. We'll see you on the show tomorrow. Matt Ulmer with us.
This is an important message from the Mine Safety and Health Administration. Mining fatalities, accidents, and injuries are preventable. Taking a minute to approach your task safely can protect you and your fellow miners from injury and death. Staying alert and focused can keep you safe. Do it safe. Do it right. Whether buckling a seatbelt or securing equipment, these quick safety measures